Let's be real, we have no idea how this rematch will go. And I think as if people who favour another person, it's all fair to do, but I feel there needs to be a lot more nuance in terms of how the fight will go. There is the people who try to undermine Chrollo with saying year of planning, he has so much set up for the fight. If this was in a more fairer outcome, Hisoka would have beat him. And I think, no, that is not true at all. People who are saying this forget how intricate Nen is and how in the midst things can change so easily. The reason why I believe Chrollo set up the way he did, and this is just from my interpretation from the backstory and everything we got from Chrollo as a character, he doesn't seem a person like Hisoka who's fight crazy, who wants to indulge with fights for no reason. So in my opinion, when he does fight, he tries to get to maximize his efficiency or maximize his outcomes to get what he wants. A good example of this, when we go to the fight against Zeno and Silva. His main goal was to try steal their abilities, and it's why he didn't even try to kill the two respective hunters, and why you get that nice ending part where Zeno says the matchup would have been different if you were trying to kill me. But similarly, we still doesn't mean that Chrollo could have won even if he had killing intent. But it shows how he's more thought out, and when he has a goal, that is the goal he's trying to reach, rather than somebody like Hisoka who enjoys battle. And we get to somebody such as Hisoka, because the importance of that fight lies into the change in psyche of Hisoka as a character, and focusing on what he told Gon all the way back in Heaven's Arena. One of the most interesting things was when they had their fight, and it finished and he says he wants to fight Gon again one day, but in the wild where there'll be no rules and etc. to hold us back. He says that and yet still went according to Chrollo's plan, because his love for battle arises anything else and was the main priority, that he put himself in the worst, and I mean the worst situation in a fight which it was very one-sided, but he did get his 1-2 hits in the fight. But I feel as if there's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more things that can come to pass. I don't think it's as easy as saying one person will win, and especially those who are like, yeah, Hisoka's going to win because of the post-mortem Nen, or Chrollo's going to win because he has all his abilities. These are all fair points, but in my opinion, it's a flip of the coin between both of them, especially in the setting that we're currently in the succession war, where in terms of unpredictability, anything can happen. We're currently in a situation where we got a nice backstory on the Phantom Troop, and it's kind of recontextualized our opinions on the Phantom Troop in general, and potentially giving us more lore in terms of the actual inner workings of the Curtain Massacre, with a lot of people like myself assuming people such as Prince Radnik and his faction of the Karkian Empire had something to play in this whole massacre. This means things such as the potential Kurapika Chrollo team up? I doubt it, but you really never know, and this gives up the possibilities of what can occur. Similarly, we finally got to see Hisoka on the boat, and he's kind of just chilling. There is no Illumi body swap that we were expecting. He's just chilling, waiting to do his things, and now he's been sent to another tier, which I believe is the same one as Kurapika, meaning there's a potential he meets Kurapika beforehand and gets a lot more knowledge into what is actually going on. To delve back into the actual fight itself, it's complicated, and I'm going to be completely honest, it's very, very complicated because there's so many factors that can happen. Let's take away one factor. If Hisoka, because I do believe he's going to kill the majority of the troop, whether that is all of them depending on your personal opinion, could Chrollo end up getting a lot of these abilities from post-mortem Nen, meaning that he could be in a situation where he becomes even more stronger by the end. There's also the possibility with Chrollo, because this is the first time we're going to see a very angry Chrollo. This isn't the Chrollo where he seems to be a little bit more carefree in the Zeno versus Rayleigh fight, or Chrollo who's completely in control in the fight against Hisoka. He is angry and looking to get revenge on his respective friends that have passed away. And I feel just because of that, it could change his direction into how he turns the fight to go, because we know how in the series, anger and etc. can change your perception to make more rash decisions. We saw this perfectly with somebody such as Gon. Of course, Gon's character is a little bit more different to somebody such as Chrollo, so there is a lot more leeway in that regard. But still, the emotions are flying high. The unpredictability and chaos that can ensue in the whole succession war. I feel as if even expecting this fight to go in the traditional manner that we expect, with them having a 1v1 all the time, isn't necessarily going to be guaranteed with just how much unpredictability and stakes are past. We're currently in a situation where the Phantom Troop are looking to hunt down Morena's faction in the Lee family. Now, what if something goes wrong with this and they end up becoming a bigger threat than even Hisoka before he starts his whole interaction with each other? I feel as if just because of simple things like that, it's not as simple as saying who is going to win. And I think as if you want to give me a non-biased answer, I still lean to Chrollo. I'm not gonna lie to you. My reasoning for Chrollo is because he's already had people such as Silver who talked about the fact that, hey, Killua, etc., Lumi, don't fight this type of person. But then again, with the unpredictability of somebody such as Hisoka, as well as how much stronger has he come from the post-mortem Nen, there is a lot to theorize in regards to Hisoka generally having the advantage in this clash, but I feel like it's a lot more nuanced than a lot of people are giving, especially in a power system such as Nen, which is so unpredictable and can be used in new ways. I don't think anyone, and I mean anyone, aside from maybe Hisoka versus Gon, had a very clear outcome on a big fight in the series and how it was going to go. I think one thing I love about the actual first fight is the fact that Chrollo said from the jump, he said, I'm putting Hisoka down, and these are the most amount of abilities I've ever used in a fight to take on one person. Like Togashi said in his extra, he wanted to showcase a fight where the actual user says, I will win, and they actually win. Because for the most part, when you hear that, especially from our Vegeta fans, he says, I will destroy you, and then you end up seeing what happens to Vegeta. So I feel as if this is just a lot of things that can change the outcome of the fight, and I think it's going to be very interesting. Regardless, I hear a lot of people who say that Hisoka has to win because it will conclude with his story in terms of what he's trying to do in terms of hunting down the Phantom Troop. It would make a lot of sense to me, but I feel as if Hisoka is very whimsical. That whole persona and idea of goal could easily change, especially if he gets into conflicts with other people who piques his interest. That's what makes Hisoka such an interesting character, because he's super unpredictable and is a wild card at all times. So if we get to a situation where we go to Chrollo and he finds out who was the actual individual who killed Sarasa, maybe his priorities will shift. And especially if a lot of people theorizing, like I talked about, it has something to do with Saradnik. The whole goal in terms of what we're expecting this fight to could end up being focused on something else. Now I know this is a huge plotline that we're still expecting to go, and I do believe we're going to get Hisoka interact and kill a lot of these Phantom Troop members. I'm just saying the biggest fight that a lot of us are expecting to happen is a rematch might not go the way it thinks we do, and I think a lot of people have to obviously tone down their expectations a little bit and be a bit more coherent in how the fight can go. If you believe one of them can win, more than valid. But similarly, if the fight doesn't happen, we have to remember there is a lot more other plot lines that can interact with the whole thing and could completely change the whole scope of the Succession War in general. But if this fight does happen, I still think somebody such as Chrollo has something to play in regards to Gyro, and especially if we do believe with some of the symbolism that we've got with Gyro that could indicate to us that he potentially is coming back in the story, especially if we do end up going to the Dark Continent. There is something, for example, even his reading from the ability back in York New City, which could indicate he's going to find somebody that is a new friend in the East, and whether you think that is somebody such as the person who managed to do the Nen exorcism, or somebody such as Gyro who can indicate to us that they're going to have a relationship. I think it's even foreshadowed with all the little symbolism we see in that picture, where we see a lot of things, whether it was the chain, whether it's his attire, whether it's things that can indicate that Chrollo and him may have a meeting together. Especially if we get to that point where Chrollo ends up losing everybody around him but himself, it could force him to a whole new level, and I think it would be nicely done, especially with how Togashi likes to give us a very dramatic sad endings for a lot of our characters. And he even said to us in the whole story in the interview that the ending of the Phantom Troop and Kurapika is either they're all going to die or it's a tragic one. So regardless, there is a lot that bodes well for potentially Hisoka winning, but I just feel like in general, the whole conversation is a lot more nuanced. And if you want to tell me in a 1v1 who's most likely to win, like I just said, I edge Chrollo low-key, just because I think there is potential of him meeting up with somebody. But similarly, I'm not mad at it if somebody such Hisoka will win, because there's a lot of things gunning for him in this actual contest. But to kind of conclude, because I have said it already, I just want people to remember that there is a lot more plot lines at stake, meaning the fight might not go the way we go. And if it ends up being a team up or something, would you be mad at that personally? I personally wouldn't, because I believe in Togashi, and at least for me personally, he hasn't missed in any regard. So I have a lot of faith that whatever he does in terms of this actual clash that we expect to happen will go smoothly and will be unpredictable as he always does. But yeah, I'm excited. If they do clash, I can't wait. especially as the fact that this will be a lot more closer because it's in a high stakes 1v1 and in a setting where Chrollo does not have everything planned out and going according to his plan. This will be in a situation where we're going to see a real masterclass in regard to a jack of all trades against the biggest one-trick pony. If you forgot, Bungee Gum has the product of rubber and... Bruh, I forgot, but what is it, rubber and gum? Bungee Gum is... I forgot what it is. If you want to see more Hunter x Hunter content, let me know down below. And thank you guys for watching.